Okay, lesson 28 is measuring time and then elapsed time. Boy, do I have sloppy handwriting, huh? So probably know this stuff. We'll review it real quickly. That there are 24 hours in one day. There are 60 minutes in 1 hour. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute. And this you might not know. Probably you've thought about it, but in 1 year, there are actually 365 and a quarter days. So that's where that leap year, remember February 29th comes every 4 years. So we have that leap year with 366 days. And then most years are 365 days. So usually when you think about it, you think about a year being 365 days. Every 4th year, there's that extra day thrown in to make up for that quarter of a day. Okay, so moving along. In 1 year, there's 12 months. Here might be something new. In 1 century, there's 100 years, and in 1 decade, there's 10 years. So a lot of you are about a decade and maybe a little bit old, right? Example 1 asks you how a century is how many decades. So if the decade is 10 years and a century is 100 years, how many sets of 10 are in 100? Yeah, 10. So 1 century is the same thing as 10 decades. Okay, that's easy. Example 2 looks at a calendar. So I'm going to point here. They gave you this calendar, and the trick with calendars is looking at the headings on the columns. And you see it says SMTW, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's how most calendars are written, with Sunday first. You've got to look, though. A lot of school calendars just are Monday through Friday. They leave off the weekends. Some calendars start on Monday and they have Saturday and Sunday, like the weekend kind of separated. This is the most traditional calendar. So they have said, according to this calendar, June 8th, 2014. So let's find the 8th. And I notice that it's under the S, the first S column, so I know it's a Sunday. And it's the 2nd Sunday of the month. So that's how you can read a calendar. Okay. Make sure you look at the headings at the top. Again, there are different versions. Okay, clocks. A lot of you can't read an analog clock like a regular school clock. You can read a digital clock just fine. I think reading the hands on a clock is kind of a lost art. We're going to practice a little bit. Before we do that, I wanted you to think about AM and PM. So AM. Midnight is 12 o'clock a.m. and then it goes from 12 o'clock a.m. all the way through the morning until you get to 11:59 a.m. and then it turns noon, so lunchtime, and that's 12 o'clock p.m. So a.m. you think about the latter part of the middle of the night and the morning, and then p.m. is afternoon and then the earlier part of the evening. Okay, does that make sense? So it's hard to remember which one's AM and which one's PM, but if you think about midnight is AM, okay? And M comes before N, A comes before P. I don't know, it's kind of a cheesy way to do it. Okay, so let's look at clocks just a minute. A couple of tricks. When you think about this clock, this hand is rotating around as this one is. So not very often is this hand going to be exactly on whatever number it is. In these, it kind of is, but if you look at my watch doesn't look like that. So the little hand and the big hand, so the short hand and the long hand, we're going to say this one is pointing to 12. It's pretty direct, so we're going to put the 12 over here on the left. And this is pointing to the 3. But the trick is 5, 10, 15, right? So when we're using this minute hand, we're counting each little minute in between. So there's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So 12, 15. Okay, here I noticed that this hour hand is pointing to the 3, but is it? I think it's close to the 3. I'm going to redraw it so it's a little bit more like that. Okay, so it's not on the 2, but it's not to the 3 yet. So if it's not to the 3 yet, I'm going to say that it's 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Remember, I'm counting by 5s for the minute hand. Okay, here it's just before that 5. So I'm going to kind of draw it where I think it should be. And I'm going to say, oh, it's not to the 5 yet, so it's still 4 something. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Oh, can I start counting at 30 maybe? So 30, 35, 40, 45. Cool, 445. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see if we can do this. I'm gonna put my watch up here. Ooh, okay. Look at my watch. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. What time is it right now? That hour hand right there, the little hand, is not on the 4, but it's not on the 5 yet, is it? So it must be 4 something, right? And it's past 4:30, and it's past 4:35, but it's not quite 4:40. So it looks like to me, it's not 5 o'clock yet, it's about 4:38, isn't it? You see that? And that's where that hand, the hour hand, doesn't really often, unless it's exactly 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, point directly to one of the numbers. So that's a little misleading. If it's not all the way to the 5 yet, it can't be 5 o'clock anything. It's still 4 o'clock something, okay? All right, so moving along. I put this on the website so you can practice with this if you want to. I may try to find a better one that has the hour hands pointing not directly to the numbers. That's kind of a little bit babyish and slightly misleading, isn't it? Because that's not really how it works. Okay, so example 3. Rick woke up 2 hours before 9:05 in the morning. What time did he get up? So in the morning is our clue. What did in the morning stand for? AM? So that's going to be an A. Yes, marker. AM. 9:05. So I'm going to count backwards, right? So backwards 2 hours would be 7:05. So he got up at 7:05. See the colon? A period, M period. And that's the proper way to write that. His lunch period ends 3 hours after that 9:05. Okay? So I'm going to add 3 hours, and it ends up being 12, and colon, 2 dots, 05. But is it still, remember I said lunchtime was when it became PM? So this is AM, but then with 3 hours, it becomes PM, okay? If I had said 2 hours, it would be 11:05 and it would still be AM. But because I passed that 12 o'clock mark, that noon mark, it becomes PM, okay? Example 4, we're talking about elapsed time. So that's the amount of time between a starting and an ending of something. So Raven and her friends attended a movie that was 2 hours and 5 minutes long, and it ended at 9:20. What time did the movie start? Okay, so this is how I like to do my elapsed time. I make 3 columns. I say time, hours, and minutes. I won't need minutes in this one much. Maybe I will. So I'm going to put my time down here and go backwards. Okay, so what's an easy way I can think of? 2 hours backwards, right? 9:20, 8:20, 7:20. So let's go to 7:20. And that's still PM, and we're going to say that that was 2 hours, right? Okay, so the movie was 2 hours and 5 minutes long. Okay, so now I'm going to go backwards another 5 minutes. So what's 7:20 and backwards? 7:15, and it's still nighttime, so p.m. Okay. These are really much easier going forward, so we'll practice those a little bit. The backwards part is a little tricky, but I think if you use that format, I don't know, I think I may have to practice with you a little bit more on that. Hopefully it'll make sense. So good luck with this. Let me know if you need help, and I'll walk you through some of these. Okay, good luck.